Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me today. So today we're going to learn about best management practices for planting ornamental plants. And in the beginning, we got an example of pruning, so here's a video.
There's different levels, but this is the basics. I call it the kindergarten level of pruning. I like it the best. When you're actually starting to prune something, you kind of want to assess it to see what's going on with the tree. This tree is exhibiting some dying parts in it, here in the top and here on the bottom. And when you're actually starting to prune, that's the first thing you need to think about is dead, dying, and disease. But keep in mind when you do prune a tree, to make sure that it's not when it's exceedingly hot, like it has been that month and a half, and that you're not in the middle of a drought. It's not below 30 degrees, and I didn't prune below 30 degrees. But you do want to do it when it's dormant most of the time. If you can't, take off just as little as possible. Only what's in your way or what you see as a problem, maybe you have a damaged limb or something like that, you know, remove that. The tree can handle stuff like that. But this tree, if I had to stay here, I'd probably spend about an hour with it, roughly. Getting it shaped and getting it the way it actually needs to look. You and I can do that.
So you might be asking yourself, when is a great time to plant? Here's calendar, January through December. And if you don't know, B&B is burlap and ball, or ball and burlap. And then bare root and container. So the ideal time to plant trees and shrubs is during the dormant season, the fall after leaf drop, or early spring before bud break. This also applies to most evergreen plants as they are shallow rooted and need time to establish before our hot, dry summer months. Weather conditions are cool and allow plants to establish roots in the new location before spring and rains and summer heat stimulate new top growth. Considerations before planting. So to reiterate, while spring is a popular planting season, fall through late winter, early spring may be the best time to plant. October and November are usually very dry months with little rainfall. A large number of plants are killed between leaving the nursery and being planted in the landscape because of mishandling. Preparing the planting site. When planting individual plants, it is important to dig the hole not deeper but 2 to 3 times wider than the root ball. Slope the sides of the hole so new feeder roots in the top 12 inches of soil have the most room to grow. The edge of the shovel or spade should be used to roughen the sides of the hole, especially in high clay soil. Clay that is wet can glaze when dug, as the shovel pan creates a slick waterproof barrier. And this kind of shows the proper way. This diagram shows an excellent summary of planting, mulching, and staking recommendations. And that's a healthy tree. Example of a proper hole. It's at the right depth, and it's 2 to 3 times, and that looks like a ball and burlap. And that is incorrect. You can see the mulch is higher. They buried the ball and burlap with the wire on it, and that tree will probably die. Planting depth. Identify the trunk flare. That's where it kind of the trunk, and then it goes out a little bit. The trunk flare is where the roots spread at the base of the tree. That's where you want the soil to meet it. Preparing the plant hole. In poorly drained soils, dig the hole 1 to 2 inches shallower than the root ball. This same technique should be used to plant azaleas, rhododendrons, and other plants that are susceptible to root rot. The easiest way to help a young tree or shrub to survive is to dig the planting hole much wider than is normally done. 1 hole, 1 tree, no added amendments to backfill. Group of trees or shrubs, prepare entire bed. And this is actually wrong too. Now, rocks around a tree, especially like in this open field, it probably gets a lot of sun, full sun. Those rocks are going to heat up exponentially, and it will just fry the bark on the tree. So you want to do like organics, like mulch, pine wood bark, and topsoil, stuff like that. And this was the Professor Kitty Kilabruce is the city forester of Tennessee. How many errors in this diagram can you spot? So you can pause it, and in the next slide it should tell. Bad preparation and soil improvement. When installing groups of trees, shrubs, or flowers in a large space, prepare the soil. After conducting a soil test, till soil 8 to 10 inches deep. Raise the soil surface smooth to help make sure that some plants do not sink, and then the bed is now ready to plant. Now, because the entire soil was tilled, you can dig holes. Why add organic matter? Rarely it is recommended to an individual planting hole. When a planting hole is amended, the structure and texture of the soil in the hole differ from that of the surrounding native soil. If you must incorporate organic matter into one hole at a time, thoroughly mix the parent soil with the organic matter. Purchasing plants. Two important points. One is to purchase plants from a reputable nursery or garden center. Secondly, choose plants that will grow in this area of the garden. Many times, plants are purchased because they are pretty without regard to the cultural requirements. Inspect leaves, branches, stems, and even the roots. So when you go to like Lowe's or, a big box store, even a nursery, just anywhere, before you go ahead and you can take it out of the pot and inspect the roots. People might look at you weird, but you have that knowledge. Planting plants grown in containers or pots. Container-grown nursery plants need special handling to ensure proper landscape growth. Before planting water container plants, then remove the container or plastic bag. If the container was a fiber pot and appears to have been treated with a preservative, then remove it before planting. Check for and do not be afraid to cut any circling or girdling roots. You can score it, or I like to tease the roots out. A small burlap plant are either hand dug or machine dug at the nursery, wrapped in burlap and secured. Large ball and burlap plants are dug with a mechanical spade, and often placed in wire baskets of the nursery. They are super heavy. Planting bare root plants. Sometimes easy to transplant species like roses and grapes are solid bare root without soil around their roots. Be sure to keep the root system if plants are not installed immediately. Keep them moist. When planting these bare root specimens, remove any packaging and then soak the roots 24 hours before planting. Pruning at time of planting. It is not necessary to prune woody ornamentals at transplanting. In fact, research shows that plants pruned at planting grew no better than unpruned plants. So do not trim off any broken, damaged branches from the tree. Mulching. Proper application of mulch is important. Organic mulch can hold enough moisture to keep the bark continually wet. Watering. Watering newly set plants is essential for early growth and survival in the landscape. A strong root system will produce a better plant that is able to withstand dry periods later. Plants will develop a shallow root system that dry out during prolonged droughts. And you can do stuff like little water donuts or water bags for the tree. They're good. Sometimes you have to be careful. They're good in the winter months because even in the summer, the sun will heat those up and it will be very hot water and burn around the tree. Staking and stabilization. Staking trees present additional management challenges in the landscape and is often not necessary. If wind, soil conditions, slope, tree size, risk management issues, or contact stipulations require tree staking, then use the following best management practices. And those show the main consideration for staking is that it's temporary for the first growing season. The tree grows enough to engulf them, creating a serious flaw in the trunk or branches. So this is a very temporary thing. Trunk wrapping. Most tree trunks are wrapped at the nursery to prevent bark injury. These wraps are made of burlap, paper sacks, or other material, and the research indicates that the tree wraps do little to protect newly planted trees. If tree wraps are used, remove after 1 year to prevent insects and disease problems. Fertilize woody ornamentals. Main thing, soil test. If you haven't watched that video, go watch it after this video. A soil test will determine the acidity or alkalinity of the soil. Most ornamental plants grow best in pH ranges between 5.5 and 7.0. Soil tests should be done during the development of a new area, and it is important to not over-fertilize. Fertilization of established plants. A good lawn maintenance program. Many eliminate the need for supplemental fertilization of trees and other woody plants. General tree vigor is determined by comparing the length of twig growth during the past 3 to 4 years. Young trees should have at least 9 to 12 inches of terminal growth. Mature trees usually average 6 to 9 inches of growth. If granular fertilizer used, the ideal months to fertilize are February through July. Tree fertilization recommendations. Fertilize in the winter or early spring and start the application 3 feet out from the trunk. So when you have a tree and it's like maybe even a shade tree, you don't want to fertilize around the trunk itself. You want to come out where the tree canopy is. That's where the roots, the feeder roots are. So you want to make a circle around like the circumference of the tree canopy. Establish growth, good post-transplant care. Remove any tags or labels. Water newly planted trees. Container-grown plants may be susceptible to drought. This is due to the well-drained container media, and many newly planted trees and shrubs show little shoot growth. Pruning. Why prune? Pruning is a practice that can help maintain healthy, vigorous plants. It maintains plant health by removing dead or damaged, diseased plant tissue to improve the appearance of the plant by training to a particular shape, and then can increase the density of a plant. And this showed an oak tree. Like even today, we're going to get some strong winds from the hurricane, and so you can see that after the pruned tree, it has a lot of holes, so it won't have as much air surface, so the wind will go through it. So hopefully the tree will be protected from the wind. It won't topple over. Why prune? I might say this, what I just said. To remove branches that misshapen or crowded, rubbing together. Remove branches with narrow crotch angles. And then to stimulate or increase flowering or fruiting. It's commonly called deadheading. And then here's some techniques. First step is to remove all broken, dead, and diseased limbs, the 5 Ds. Dying, dead, deformed, damaged, and diseased. And the 5 Cs are cankers, conks, cracks, cavities, and crotches. Next, remove any cross branches or branches rubbing against each other. And then a branch that is removed should be cut back to the original or side branch. Proper pruning techniques. The correct location for the cut is just outside the swollen area. Never leave a stub. Undesirable growth, insects, attack, or decay will occur on stubs. And that's a proper pruning technique. 3-cut method. The first cut is an undercut on the targeted branch. Second cut is a top cut, slightly further out than the undercut, and the third cut is just outside the branch collar. This should be a smooth cut. Proper pruning techniques. They did a good branch collar. Pruning cuts should be made just outside the branch collar. The International Society of Arboriculture Arborist Certification Study Guide states, topping or heading back is not a recommendation pruning method for trees. Crown reduction or drop crotch pruning are terms used by certified arborists. And see, that's kind of what that does. Shearing. Shearing is a major commitment to a rigid and time pruning schedule. It's kind of like if you have pretty boxwoods. If you make like a boxwood hedge, that's what these do. See, needle leaf evergreens such as yew, arborvitae, hemlock, spruce are often sheared to develop a more formal look. When to prune birch, elm, maple, and yellow wood in late winter are known to be bleeders. These trees can be handled as summer pruning if done correctly. Trees and shrubs should be examined for pruning on an annual basis. Flowering trees and shrubs. To ensure proper plant response after pruning, be aware of the flowering and fruiting habits of the plant. As a general rule, plant the flower before July 1st, like azaleas, forsythias, lilacs, and viburnum. These plants develop flower buds on the previous season wood. Fruiting shrubs. Plants that are prized for their fruiting should not be pruned until after the fruit has lost its beauty. Lightly thin branches on as-needed basis, and then hollies, barberries, cotoneasters, and nantinas. Broadleaf and narrowleaf evergreens. Conifers, broadleaf, and narrowleaf evergreens may be pruned at any time the wood is not frozen. Young trees. Young trees, branches can be spaced about 6 to 12 inches apart. By the 5th year, potential major scaffold branches should be spaced at least 8 inches and preferably 20 to 24 inches vertically. It is not necessary to cut back the canopy of the tree when transplanting. Mature trees. Pruning should focus on maintaining tree structure from health and appearance. Discuss with arborists or trained professionals the best and most desirable methods of pruning before the work is done. Topping. Topping is used to reduce the height of trees around homes and utility lines. Topping is not the same as crown reduction or height reduction. Topping can drastically shorten the life of a tree. And that brought us to the end of the class. So I really hope you made it to the end. I hope you learned at least something. Hope you're enjoying these videos. This is week 6, and that might bring us, I think next week will be halfway through the Master Gardener program. So I hope you're proud of yourself. I hope you've learned a lot. I'm still enjoying it and learning a lot. I'm using what I know out in the garden, fundamental things, and so I'm going to, this really inspires me, so I hope it inspires you. So I hope you have a chance to get in your garden today, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye, y'all.